with it coming up to the end of the year, I thought it'd be good to do a video on some of my favourite endings to fantasy books and fantasy book series. Both. Well, technically, ends of series is still the end of a book. It's just the later book. Let me know in the comments any endings that you really enjoy from a fantasy book or a sci-fi book or a fantasy series or sci-fi series. That was smooth. Or even just a type of ending. Do you like the big grand epic battles? Do you like more character driven, show how they ended up? And do you like more twisty ending with some cliffhangers maybe? Let me know what you think of what endings. Give me your hot takes for endings. I did ask on Instagram what some other people's favourite ends of fantasy books are, and by far, the top one was Mistborn, Era 1. Another thing that's quite interesting about this list that I've kind of pulled together is that they're all very different types of endings. It's going to be spoiler free, but they are all very different types of endings, which I thought was quite interesting. I want to show different kinds of endings as well, because there's not really one right answer. It depends on that individual story. But the Mistborn Era 1 ending definitely comes under cataclysmic. This truly is an epic ending. We get to find out... that's a spoiler. It truly is an epic ending. It's cataclysmic, it's huge, world-changing, it's drastic, it's over the top. Pulls together all these wee threads that you didn't even know were threads until you go, oh, it's a thread. And then, tight wee nice bow. And interestingly, Era 2 books, which takes you 500 years or 600 years after Era 1, I've heard doesn't end with as neat an ending. It leaves a lot more things open for the Cosmere references and for Era 3, which Era 1 definitely didn't do as much. It was definitely like a full stop ending. That's a trilogy. And if you want more of these little Easter egg things, you can go to the other books. So it'll be interesting to see if Sanderson moves away from that in Era 3 as well. Another ending I really liked from a fantasy book was Empire of the Vampire. The cool thing about Empire of the Vampire is there's a twist in the story that was kind of predictable, but there was some other stuff that happened at the end which I did not see coming, and it got really dark, and I didn't expect it at all to get that dark. It uses a framing narrative very similar to Name of the Wind, or The First Binding. So it has your main character talking in between, telling you the story overall, and it jumps between younger Gabriel and middle-aged Gabriel, and this is a slightly older Gabriel afterwards. So even with the framing narrative, you know that it's going to go pretty downhill overall, which has this like effect of impending, you know, bad stuff's going to happen. But even where he gets up to in his story, the end of book 1, it's not great. Things don't look good for him. He's not, you know, he's not living a happy little life. Next up, it would have been smart to get these before I start filming, but I'll take the whole box. I can show you all the books. The fourth Murderbot Diary novella. So the fourth novella kind of finishes an arc of Murderbot's story, and I think it's a really solid ending just where Murderbot ends up as a character. It doesn't finish with some grand epic battle with two armies doing the killing and the stabbing, but it's where he ends up, not he, I know Murderbot's not got gender. Murderbot ends up, where Murderbot ends up is really interesting. Where Martha Wells takes its character and leaves him in just kind of this state of, I don't know what to do anymore, I don't know what this all means, it's really interesting, and it makes it really not feel incomplete, but feel open-ended at the end. I really like the open-ended feeling at the end of when an adventurer has finished their adventure, they've gone, they've killed the dragon, they've done all the stuff, burned the ring, done all the fun stuff, and then they come back home and they're like, what do I do now? Am I just gonna get a job in a bank, or? Obviously more antics will happen because there's fugitive telemetry and network effect, which is a full novel taking place after, so you know there's going to be more stuff. But it does feel like a complete arc, and it's just this open-ended ending of the book, that novella, that makes you feel it's heavy. It's pretty heavy. I was going to name them. Okay, so we're going to call Mistborn Cataclysmic, Empire the Vampire Stabby Stabby Sad Boy, and Exit Strategy Oh God Existentialism. Happy with that. What's the next one? Oathbringer. Those are the nice cracking coal slip jackets, in case you're wondering what that is. But Oathbringer, the ending, to be fair, all of the endings in the Stormlight books are solid, but the one thing that I really liked about Oathbringer was it felt like your Avengers Endgame. It felt like you're coming together with all these characters and they're all coming together in one big battle. It's like as a kid when you're watching a program and then you get your crossover episode. You get all these characters come together and to like fight this one big bad guy. That's what End of Oathbringer felt like to me. Having it all take place from different perspectives of different parts of what's going on in the battle, from all these different characters that we've grown to love, it's so fun. It's just fun. It's just fun. And after reading that, it damn well better be a good ending. We're gonna call that one The Avengers. Nah. The crossover episode Battle War. Catchy. No, I will not shoot a video without including it, because it's Ember Blade. So the thing I really liked about the Ember Blade's ending, why did I think this was a good idea to do without spoilers? We're just sort of standing about the end going, well, that was kind of not great. You know, that could have went better. But we still got all this to still do. And it's just this this last scene where they're standing together, the people who survive. If people survive, do people survive? Read and find out. And they're just around each other and they're like, yeah, we did this and that, but we didn't do this and that, and this bad stuff happened, and we've still got all this ahead of us. And it's just that sort of, but they're not talking about it. It's just this sullen silence that holds them when this undisclosed people do undisclosed things at an undisclosed ending. I call that one the somber, sullen silence of dread. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to talk about this one either, but Shadow of the Gods. This is a Norse-inspired Viking type fantasy. This is one of those endings where the characters just kind of all look at each other and go, you kind of end on a cliffhanger with like a BAM! That's not good. But this ends on a BAM! That's not good. And that's what we'll call the ending. BAM! That's not good. And last but not least, probably the most iconic endings in all of fantasy is The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I'm kind of going to combine them because they both have very similar type endings, and it's the same sort of style. It's this, they've got home from their grand adventure and looking back on it, and it's trying to get back into normal life. It's a bit like the Exit Strategy ending, but this feels like they've actually completed the journey. It's not as open-ended as the Murderbot ending. This is the there and back again. They've gone on this massive epic journey. They've come home, defeated the bad guy. I know that's a bit of a spoiler, but it's The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. No one doesn't know how those end at this point. And they're thankful to be back alive, but it's not the same Shire that they left. The falling action in both of these books is one of my favourite parts. I really enjoy watching them come home and realise things that used to matter to them don't matter anymore. And they see the world through a different lens after going on this big grand journey. You get to really see the difference in their characters. It's a great style of ending. We will call that the there and back again. It's not super creative, but perfectly describes what it is. So I haven't been reading adult fantasy for years and years and years and years. So I'm sure there's a ton of endings that I've not read that are fantastic that I've just not gone to yet. So I put out a wee thing on Instagram, and I've got some answers, and we'll see what other people think. So the big main one was Mistborn Era 1, but after that, one of the second highest wasn't, you know, Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. They did turn up, but not as much as the Lycanius trilogy. So I actually haven't read this series yet, this trilogy yet. I'm going to read it next year, but apparently it has a really good ending. This is a time travel fantasy book, so I'm sure there'll be lots of mind-bending complexities. And from the titles, The Shadow That Was Lost, An Echo of Things to Come, The Light of All That Falls. I think it'll be quite a poetic and well thought out ending, which you kind of have to if you're doing a time travel story. There has to be, you know, there's no Discovery right in that. I can't really name that ending because I've not read it, and everybody said, oh, we can't tell you why it's really good, it's just really good. So we'll just put the time travel ending. Another one that came up, another one that came up a lot of times was the end of the Wheel of Time, which you would hope has a good ending after 14 books of build up. Yeah, I've not really heard a lot of complaints about the ending to the Wheel of Time. You know, I hear a lot of people getting mixed opinions on like the first book or the first couple of books, and then some people don't really, people who like those don't really like book 3 and 4, and then there's the slog in the middle. But I've never had anyone really complain about the end of the Wheel of Time. And I'm sure that's partly because you have to have some sort of commitment and enjoyment from the series to read it this long for 14 books, 15 if you include the prequel. And I've not completed the Wheel of Time yet. I am only on book 3. Yeah, book 3. So I still have a wee while to go. And I probably won't have a big grasp of how large and all-encompassing the story gets to. But hearing that it's got a really solid ending, it's really good ending, will help me push through the slog that I know is quite famous in the middle of the Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, The Wheel of Time. But knowing that it's got a really solid ending will definitely help with pushing through the infamous slog. So there were a couple others. For the most part, there was just single votes of some, like The Faithful and the Fallen, the First Law trilogy, Magician by Raymond D. Feist. Hob. A lot of people said Hob. That's another one that I've not really gotten into yet. A lot of people said the end of the live ships as well, not just the end of the Realm of the Eldring, but the end of the Live Ship Trader trilogy. So, end of Malazan. Rhyria Revelations, that's another one that's come up quite a lot. I've heard Patrick talk about Rhyria Revelations. I heard Patrick talk about Rhyria Revelations and the Rhyria Chronicles quite a bit. It's definitely a series I want to look into at some point. It sounds really good. So, ooh, that's heavier than I thought it was going to be. Talking about good endings. Okay, bye.